Welcome to Midday Repartee. I am Rotten Glory. I am joined by my co-host today, Scotland's greatest best shit superhero and the CGUK's best shit artist. How are you doing, sir?
I am good, Rot. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Busy, busy, busy. I was up till 2:33 a.m. working. I've got so much to do today that I had to stay up late working. I'm scrambling. I've got to tell you, I spent maybe 2 or 3 years before Comicsgate came around, kind of really not challenging myself to be productive, and I got a piece of advice for anyone out there: don't stop challenging yourself to be productive on a daily basis, because if you fall into that habit of not achieving a lot with your time, it is a tough road getting back to that place, man. I've been really struggling to really fill my days with productivity. It's tough.
Agreed.
Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Do something every day. Make sure by the end of the day you can say, you know what, I'm satisfied with this day.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hail to the chat. We got Mitchell here, Tatsunami, Metz is in the house. If you can share this stream out. I think this is going to be a good discussion. There's kind of a specific thing within this that I want to talk about, but it can go anywhere. And what we're going to be talking about is just what what has the impact been of the introduction of the internet, smartphones, social media. What how is this it I feel like these things have been present in our lives long enough that we can start to measure like the impact. I don't know that we fully understand it yet, but we can at least have a discussion about it. Like, what are your initial thoughts on it?
Uh, what? Okay, so what happened to me the other day on the Twitter was I got told by some fucking I don't know, some fucking pluky, fucking acne-ridden fucking teenager, as far as I can work out, that I must be over 50 because I have no idea how the internet works. To which I replied, you know, the guy that invented the World Wide Web is almost a pensioner.
Yeah, right.
And all of a sudden, they went away.
And
Uh,
I'm fairly confident that Captain Fuckhead knows very well how the internet works. When I say that, I'm talking about the modes of communication, how the behavior of people on the internet as opposed to face to face, how memes work, the language of the internet. I'm really confident that you're pretty much up to speed on all of that.
I'm pretty well versed. I've spent enough time on there that I should know how it's gone. I've even made my own memes before using Marvel Comics. There was a great one a while ago. I don't know if I've still got it on my computer with Ro and I've forgotten his name now. Methwin.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Remember when Peter Parker? We discovered that he was possibly bisexual,
Oh
and
right.
there was a hotel scene. I've managed to swap Peter Parker for Methwin, and Ro was wearing a pair of edible panties, and he'd already eaten the ass out of them.
Yeah, I think you got the internet. I
I'm
think you
pretty
got to
yeah, I'm
understand.
pretty good with the internet.
Yeah, I don't think you can survive in the environment of Comicsgate and not, if you don't understand, at least to some extent, how the internet works on these levels. You're not going to survive Comicsgate.
No,
It's going to either enrage you or just put you into a spurging fit if you don't understand what's going on. You
yep,
know, and we've seen it
absolutely.
happen many times. So, yeah, it's a requirement. I think the thing that really fascinates me about the introduction of the internet is back in the day, let's say you're a 20-year-old, unless you're talking about like college or higher education where there's a professor or something, and that's in a very controlled environment. That professor probably can't really share his true, authentic thoughts on a lot of topics. It's controlled. So back in the day,
Mm-hmm.
when you're young, you didn't really have access to older people's ideas, thoughts, people that have been around the block a few times. So for me, what the internet has done is young people are now, flocking to YouTube, to these platforms, and they're coming in contact with much older people who have lived their lives and have learned quite a lot about how the world works. And they're coming in contact with all of this knowledge, all of these ideas. Some of them are completely, insane ideas.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of great stuff out there, but they're coming in contact with an older age group that they probably wouldn't have back in the day. How would a young person really have access to that? Usually you stick to people around your age group. So I find that fascinating, and I think it's having a huge impact on how the culture is moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't disagree with that. One of the things I would say about particularly social media, when you look at things like Twitter and Facebook, would be the prime two examples. I think YouTube's a slightly different animal, and I think Instagram isn't meant. Excuse me, Rob. Instagram is not meant for us. Instagram.
I've never even dabbled in Instagram.
It's the fucking weird place. Like, I know people think Tumblr is a bit weird, but honestly, go and check out Instagram. Like, don't search for artists. Just go and search for the people who are popular on Instagram, and it's a very, very strange world. One which I don't like interacting with too much. But one of the things in my mind is I still don't think we've got to grips with social media yet. I think our generation are the generation that grew up with it. Or not necessarily grew up with it, but kind of discovered it for the first time. I mean, I go back to MySpace and all sorts of shit. Oh God, I can't remember MySpace. I used to like that. You get music coming your way. That was good fun. You don't get that on Twitter.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've figured out how to use Twitter yet. If you look at predominantly what happens on Twitter, it's a bunch of weirdos trying to send messages. Like, I don't mean that in terms of having a conversation. I genuinely mean that is in social engineering. It's all about politics. It's all about how you're wrong and somebody else is right, or how they're right and you're wrong. Whichever way you look at it, you're always in the wrong. And it's a very strange place. And now you've got a generation coming through who have been using it probably since they were 12, 13 years old. And there is no... And because they are so addicted to what's going on and they're so fucking absorbed by Twitter, you and I used to have stuff to rebel against. I remember in the 90s, at 13, 14 years old, walking around fucking stoned out of my head. Drunk before I would turn up to school. You know what I mean?
Right.
We had something to rebel against. It was like, I'm going to listen to metal because you fuckers are gay and listen to pop. I hate Kylie. All that shit. Yet today, that doesn't really exist in sort of modern culture anymore. Like, you don't see kids at school rebelling like we do. What they do now is they go onto Twitter and tell all the old people that they're wrong. It's a weird dichotomy. It's
that's
completely
interesting.
shifted.
Yeah.
It's a very strange place.
Yeah. Well, I would, I feel like this transition with, present day things that they're trying to push, like, science telling us that, gender is just a social construct. There really aren't any inherent differences between men and women. It's all just taught. The transgender thing, which, it's not. There's nothing. I don't have a problem with an adult saying, "This is truly how I feel, and I want to express it this way." I mean, if you're an adult and you feel that's necessary and you want to take it to that extreme, go for it. But pushing it on kids, giving kids hormones, all of this stuff, I feel like if you go back a ways, like when they would push try to push the envelope and push these things forward, it was a little bit easier because the young people weren't coming in contact with as many older people that had very different ideas about it. And now they're coming in contact with people who are very opposed to a lot of the shit going on, especially, trying to really change the nature of what it is to be a man and a woman, like all of this stuff. And I think young people, yeah, some of them are going to completely reject what the older generations might be saying about it, but I guarantee you, some of them are listening and they're going, "Oh, hold on, they're putting the brakes on." And I think that culture has amped up because young people have unprecedented access to ideas from older generations via
You're
YouTube and other
roboting a
platforms.
little slightly for me there, Rob.
Oh, hold on, let me fix that. I'll be back in a second.
Okay. So is he going in and is he going out? Is he just leaving me? He's going to hang me out to dry for the next 45 minutes. I guarantee you that. Uh, what I will say, though, when he does come out and back in, is to touch on a couple of things. He said two of the most terrifying things I've seen on Twitter, probably in the last year. I can't remember her name, who transitioned
All right,
to
I'm
become
back.
a female US. Go on. Still botting slightly.
Damn, my still rubbing. Uh,
You won't know who this is, but you sound like Metal Mickey now.
let me try one more time.
So while he tries that, yeah, a female UFC fighter who used to be male went into the ring to compete with females, and I believe in her first fight, from a knee to the head, crushed another lady's skull. Okay, yeah. Yeah, okay, and the other thing that terrified the hell out of me was seeing young, impressionable boys being drag queens in the United States of America and in Canada, or Canada as they're supposed to call it, I think, as drag queens stripping in a pub with money being thrown at them while their parents film it. Two very, very strange things that really do scare me about the internet, and particularly relevant to tonight's topic. And Rot seems to be back now, but he's probably missed everything I said.
I did. And I still don't know if I'm fixed yet.
You're good now.
Okay, good. Thank you.
So yeah, first thing that scared me on the internet the last 2 years was a male transitioned to a female, went into female UFC and crushed a lady's skull with a knee to the head. A bent-in skull. It was horrifying. And young boys being encouraged to be drag queens in pubs, bars, whatever you want to call them, taking items of clothing off, while adults in the pubs, bars throw money at the child as the parents encourage them and film it and then post it on the internet.
Yeah, and then mainstream news outlets have them on morning shows and proclaim it to be heroic.
Yes.
It's like, what? This is absolute garbage. It's absolute nonsense. And people, especially any, existing celebrities or people that were, had careers in entertainment, if they spoke up against it, they were instantly excommunicated, disbarred, canceled. This is the kind of, this stuff. And I do feel like, because young people have access to people who are looking at this going, no, this is literally insanity. This is off the charts crazy what's happening. It's child abuse, the whole hormone, ruining somebody's puberty, like natural process of going through, growing up, by putting them on these drugs and things. It's like, this is insanity. And I do feel like, there is this interesting thing that's happening because of the internet that is hopefully at least slowing it down, or causing some young people to take a step back and go, wait, what is that? What in the absolute fuck is going on here?
My hope is that the next generation, the up and coming generation, because I have heard reports from people a little bit older than me who have now become grandparents who. So okay, right, how do I go about this? Staying this right. So I think it's our generation that's responsible for all the shit that's going on in the world and the internet at the moment, because we haven't been responsible enough in ensuring that the generation following us kind of knows the rules, if that makes sense. We've not really communicated the rules to them that well, because we know that they don't have as much to rebel against. We were that kind of last generation in the late 80s and the 90s that did all that. So we've probably been a bit lax in parenting, I think. But I am hearing from grandparents now who are grandchildren are 16 to, let's say, 24-ish. I'm hearing good reports from grandparents saying that their grandchildren are more responsible and more grown up than their children who are now in the mid to late 20s.
Yeah.
So that gives me a little bit of hope. A little bit, maybe a bit older than that, maybe in the late 20s, early 30s. So that gives me a little bit of hope that the next generation coming will be using it a little bit more responsible. I can't. What's the word I'm looking
Responsibly?
for? There you go. I was trying to put an "ity" at the end of it as well.
I don't know. I don't know if I can agree that the current generation doesn't have. The younger generation doesn't have any. I think they have a lot to rebel against. I mean, they have all of this garbage to rebel against. I mean, I don't know. You know, I think it's a different flavor. It's a different kind. But I think there's plenty to rebel against. You know.
See, I don't know that, but I don't really see that, because if you look at what's going on in the education system at the moment, particularly universities, so your college, our university.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fucking weird people working in that environment these days.
Well, sure, but don't you see that? Don't you see that as being something that young people would rebel against? I mean,
well, if we look at the generation after ours, the people who are enforcing these slightly weird left, wrong think ideas, that all comes from university. That all comes from. It doesn't come from free thinking. That comes from people telling them that they need to go and like I know in the US you can do electives, can't you? You can do a little bit of something different from your main degree. You can go and study, and a lot of people go and do sociology and shit like that because they think it's easy. But unfortunately, they get brainwashed.
Yeah,
I've seen stuff on YouTube where people have been invited in to go and do talks. And have dared to, this is in the US, have dared to talk about some more conservative politics. And I've seen, not students, I've seen tutors stand up and shout at these people. How dare you come in and lecture me about the politics I don't agree with you on? You're wrong, go away. And forcing them out of the building.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I see that as a lot to rebel against. I'm not saying that they're doing it, but I see that there is a whole hell of a lot to rebel against if you're a young person right now. I'm not saying they're doing it because they've been all of these ideas have been pushed on them so hard from the day they entered this world. They've been pushed on them through cartoons, through pop music, through television, through the education system itself. So how many people are actually going to be able to step back and see it and rebel against it? Maybe not that many, but I do think it helps that they have access to the internet on YouTube and platforms where people are openly talking about it, and it might be enough to just jar some people out of the stupor, you know?
We need to say hello to Mitchell. He looks
Mitchell!
He looks like he's clutching his purse. He's about to drop a bomb, I think.
Well, you guys, I feel like Ron did a great job bringing it back into talking about the internet, but it was killing me listening to, it felt like you guys were not talking about what effect the actual internet was bringing in. We keep on going into what the schools are doing and what
you're right.
this other stuff is, and that's a whole nother problem, a whole nother can of worms. I feel like the internet has a very different idea where the internet kind of can serve as a magnification for kind of groupthink and issues like that. Now, what groupthink is, where that's coming from is coming from those schools and kind of things like that where we're
I think that's why you can't really talk about the internet without talking about the other, really.
But you could also look at different types of groupthink. Go onto different servers or different boards, and you can see that there's different groups, and it's just kind of more tribalism. You could find people, even if you're the only person who believes this in your town, you can find 20 or 30 other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know,
I
and
do think we need to interrupt the conversation just for a second because I think Lucius is captain. Lucius really wants you to utter these words if you can.
Scene. Gordon Murphy crowdfunds responsibly.
That wasn't bad at all. That
That's
was
because I didn't say Sean, you see. That's what would have tripped me up.
it's just funny when you're not thinking when you just blurt it out. The same with repartee. It just comes out fine. But when you're actually thinking about it, I think that's where the shit hits the fan.
The reason why I always end up that particular name, I always end up saying Scene, is because I have a very strong disdain for Sean Bean, who of course spells his name that way, and then so it's not his name isn't Sean Bourne, and it's certainly not Scene Bean. It's somewhere in the middle. So Scene Bean sticks with me because every time I Scene Bean, I'm gone.
Yes. Okay. Sorry, Mitchell.
well, I think El Gargoyle also brings up a good point, a good kind of topic too, is that if it wasn't for social networking, he wouldn't have found CG. I wouldn't have found CG either.
It's
Not
true.
that one, Rotten. Thank you.
Where is it? There we go.
It's recent.
I was like, oh wow, that went
yeah.
dark. Oh, shit.
Yeah, I feel like that. No, but that's exactly what it allows people who, even though it is a form of rebellion, look at it like we're standing up against some of the mainstream kind of creators, the mainstream publishers that don't want you to get a Cyberfrog book, that don't want you to get this or that. So I mean, this is a form of rebellion, just because it's not, we're not sitting here with mohawks, listening to loud music with loud guitars, throwing beer bottles.
Oh, I
at the wall.
agree 100%.
Doesn't
I
mean we're
think
not
the internet is almost by its very nature a rebellion in a way because it gives an international access for people, where you get to interact with people from all over the world and an almost absolute freedom of expression, thought. Of course, that's being policed. It's trying to be shut down. But the world has never experienced something where you have so much access to ideas from all over the world. It's an absolute, I think by its nature is rebellious for sure. And I love it. I think it's such a great thing because young people don't normally have access to the older generation. And I think that's highly beneficial.
I don't know if I agree with you on that one. When I was growing up, I mean, we hung around the neighborhood, and so like there was older people in the neighborhood. I didn't know a lot of older people, but there was still like I knew the people that lived on the street. I would go and I'd mow their lawns. I'd hung out with their kids, so I got to go and interact with a lot of different people growing up. And
But how often did you get into a deep philosophical conversation with people in the neighborhood, the older people? I mean, honestly.
how often do I get into a deep conversation on the internet that's philosophical?
Yeah, well, I'm not saying that
I mean,
you might
I
not
think
get
they're very
into
similar.
you might not get into a deep conversation on the internet, but you can sub and seek out channels where the person making the videos is sharing very challenging philosophical ideas. They're expressing those ideas, and I don't know. I just think
Yeah.
maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that's not. Maybe people just literally want to watch video like epic fail videos where people like fall off ladders and shit. I don't know what other people do with YouTube per se, but I've come in contact with ideas and people who have really inspired me and changed my mind on a lot of things because of YouTube. I mean, things I don't think I would have ever hit on, myself. And so if I had access to this when I was 18, all these ideas, I think it would have actually changed the course of my life,
When you say that, though, are you talking about the things that you have access to now? Because if the stuff that you have access to now was available when you were 18, would you have paid attention to it when you were 18?
Well, that's an interesting point. I hear what you're saying there. I do. I hear what you're saying on that front. Like, would I have been drawn to that type of channel or that type of discussion at that age? And would I have just like reacted like, "Oh God, you're so wrong" because I know everything? Yeah, I hear that too. That's an interesting point.
I will touch on the age thing because growing up, I was always taught If you want to know how to do something well, go and ask an expert. And experts are usually much older.
Yep.
And I don't see that. I don't see that message getting across as much these days.
Well, that's because
Go
you can go to YouTube and find. I'm sorry, that's because you can go on YouTube and find an amateur that's portraying himself as an expert, and you can go and make the same mistake he's making. It's a double-edged sword. YouTube knowledge.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have either of you gone down like conspiracy rabbit holes. I mean, most people at one point or another with YouTube have. I'm just curious if either of you have done that.
Yeah, love them.
No. So I mean, that's had a huge impact on me for sure. And I'm not saying I'm going to go all the way to this side and just be like full on, but it's made me go like, whoa, if somebody's challenging this thing over here to this extent, you know, maybe the truth is somewhere in the middle, but you know, it's probably not what the mainstream like dialogue is probably very inaccurate, and it would serve me well to question, not just assume that just because it's being projected by trusted institutions that it's actually truthful.
The Queen is a lizard. It's real. I promise you.
Is that bitch ever gonna die?
No, she's a lizard, and the reason why she's not dead yet is because she eats babies.
That theory's out there too, for sure.
I know.
Stay young, baby. Well, we know that what's her name? That actress, Sandra Bullock, right? She rubs
I don't even know what you're going to say, and I feel dirty.
No, it's like there's like they take the never mind. This isn't the place for it. Fuck it. It's too. I just realized what I was about to say, and I'm like, what the fuck am I doing?
Welcome to YouTube.
Yep.
But it's an absolute fact. She talked about it on a fucking talk show. It's not something that's just like some crazy theory. She actually said this is what I use to keep my face young. I'm like, what? No. Look it up, people. Just go look up how Sandra Bullock keeps her skin young. I'm sure it will pop up.
I'm doing it now.
Oh God. That's interesting. Well, okay. So let's try to like redirect. Let's try to refocus this conversation. Like, I mean, what do you think? What is the impact of all of these things? The smartphones, the social media, the constant engagement of the screen. Like, what do you guys think? Is it a overall positive impact, or do you think it's having effects that we can't really foresee? Is it negative?
I think that it in total is a positive impact. However, it has several side effects that we didn't see coming that I feel are dangerous if left untreated. Like the shortening of attention spans, the ability to just kind of jump into an echo chamber or a group of or a wrong thought process so easily and not being able to kind of free yourself from it. Those are some side effects of it. You have to be ready to handle those, or I think we need to also find ways to kind of help address it a little bit.
Yeah, the shortening of attention span. I mean, obviously, all of us know that Testify HD has a real problem with that, and I think we know what to blame for all that.
Sorry, what's going on?
We got Scotsman up in the house. I gotta take my jabs. He takes his jabs. I take my jabs. That's how this shit works. Get money. All right, he's fully prepared for the mice run.
I have to say,
and maybe a trip to Russia. I'm not sure what's going on.
Well, I have to say, I put a typo in when I was searching for Sandra Bullock's facial, whatever you call it. And I accidentally put Sandra Bullock's, and fuck me, I was not far away, was I?
Not disappointed.
No, not at all.
Yeah, it's crazy shit. I'm like, whoa, okay, well, there's a market for everything. Holy hell.
Speaking of markets, full disclosure, Cap, I am wearing my kilt today.
Good man.
Hey, Hail.
Ooh.
Good man.
And I trust that you, full authenticity on that kilt wearing. There's nothing going on underneath that kilt except for the nature.
I am a true Scotsman.
Yeah.
Hail, brother.
Hail.
Jay Money, how you doing?
What's going on, fellas? How are
I'm
you?
almost afraid. I've introduced a topic that could just, Jesus Christ, man, you could probably monologue on this for 3 hours straight, and I'd just be,
Can I just
I would
ask
be
Jay,
able to stop you.
before he goes? Can I just ask him? Have you had any rest from your 3-day Twitter spat yet? Have you had
Oh
some,
yeah, dude, it's
downtime?
Man.
I keep hearing about it. I'm like, I don't have time for this shit. Just give me the summary, and they're like, dude, it's impossible.
It is. It is. My word, that was funny.
Holy shit, coming. Mark actually got his ass
wow.
in here.
I was just
What
about
is
to
going
send him the
on?
link
Now
to
it-
Sandra Bollocks as well.
Yeah.
Now we
Sandra
get to hear
Bullock is the most
what a
beautiful
communist.
man.
Go ahead.
I was
Unix
saying that
and
she'd make a
training,
beautiful man.
I think she already does.
Can you hear me clearly in that? Like I'm using a different setup from normal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Sound great,
good.
mate. Mm.
Yep.
Sweet.
Mhm.
Thanks, mate.
So what does the communists think of all this? These internet shenanigans. How is it impacting us psychologically?
Oh, I don't know. One of the it's definitely going to have an effect on society, and hopefully it's going to lead us towards that. That awesome 500 million people or whatever. I think people are going to.
Oh, are you? So
Stop.
you're full on. You support the what are those the Guidestone or whatever? What the fuck is that?
Yeah, from those Georgia Guidestones. I'm sort of joking, but it would be easier. That's when.
So you actually think you buy into the overpopulated?
No, I don't. I know this fact that if you took the entire population of Earth and densely populated them as much as they are in New York City, we'd all fit in the state of Texas, and the fact that there's this inequality that makes people poor and not a lack of resources.
Yeah,
Yeah.
The Earth has plenty of resources that will far exceed the human species.
Right.
You are literally made out of the atoms of the resources that your parents consumed and that you consume in it. You're being rebuilt every day from what you consume.
Are you tinkering in your workshop, Mark?
Yes, that's what I'm
I
getting.
thought maybe you were cutting up lines of coke or something.
I thought you were building a cuckoo clock.
I
Oh
thought it was
God,
tea.
this is probably a bad idea. Even doing this show today. It's my Atomic Deuce Day.
Well,
11 o'clock rolls around and I'm like, break out. It's time to get ready. It's time
if I
to
could
start
just say,
drinking.
there's a video on YouTube that you can look up. There's an African American gentleman who lives, I believe, in Michigan, and he was able to grow over 1 million pounds of food in the winter using vertical farming.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
yeah.
so the model is not necessarily square footage, but vertical space.
Hell yeah.
He had tilapia ponds at the bottom of matriculating, cycling beds that were stacked upon each other. So the water system would trickle the water up to the very top. It would cycle through and feed the plants at the top. The water would rain down on the plants below it, and then below it, and then back into the tilapia pond, feeding the tilapia, which are small algae-eating fish.
Mm-hmm.
And the waste from the tilapia fed the plants. And so
Yep.
That's beautiful.
he had multiple systems throughout his farm in greenhouses in the winter, millions of pounds of food. So the problem is not overpopulation. It's
Agreed.
a lack of a good model of distributing those resources.
Mhm.
I'm using a buzzword to get Commie Mark involved here.
It's
Oh,
also-
wait, can you say matriculating again? Because I got to have a little fap.
Matriculating.
We've been
Oh,
running
that's so
these
sexy.
experiments, these kind
I
of
love it when
experiments.
Scotsmen use these. He uses these awesome words, and it's such a turn on.
You know, command of the language is something that will make you equally hated and loved.
All right.
In Russia, they have areas that are like what Scotsman was just talking about. They have the tank tomato that's in Russia, where it's a 15 or 20-story building, and the entire building just grows tomatoes. And
Hell
they've
yeah.
done that with many industries, because with all these sanctions, they weren't making or being able to bring in enough food, so they took it upon themselves to fix the problem. And they what Scott
Imagine there's
said is precisely what on a grand scale Russia is doing right now with their fruits and vegetables.
Nice.
So
yeah.
they're
So imagine,
only
imagine there's an alternate reality somewhere where Al Qaeda attacked the two giant farms in it that was feeding all of New York. There's a world story for you.
I'm not sure Al Qaeda would need to do that, because they've been doing this in Saudi Arabia as well, I believe. You need to keep building random cities in the water, building little islands and that sort of stuff. So they've been doing that there. They've been running these experiments in China and
in Dubai.
and second best Dubai, yeah, and second best Korea have been doing it for a while as well. These experiments have been particularly using fish and the water cycle. These experiments have been taking place, particularly in Holland, I believe, since the early 90s. Like they've been playing with these things.
Yeah, but the problem with Holland is their manpower is greatly reduced because they all have to keep their fingers one hand stuck into the dikes. So, you know, they only have one free hand per man. So,
Isn't it amazing?
I think that's how that works.
Isn't it amazing that they rolled back the sea? It was like, we don't have enough land. Let's just push the sea back. Like, that's fucking sick.
Yeah.
10 points for them.
Only people who wear wooden shoes could conceive of such a fucking harebrained scheme.
This is this is so far off topic, I can't even conceive of it. But
No, I think
what about the sand problem? And I'm talking about the kind of sand that's coarse, not the desert windblown sand. I'm talking about coarse sand that's like ocean, like beach sand, the stuff they use to make concrete. It's a serious problem. Like, the depletion of sand is a serious fucking problem. And I don't know how many people are actually aware of that shit. And they're using this shit to make more land. And it's like, I mean, Dubai and shit, they have to import sand in mass quantities because they don't, it's just insane what's going on with that shit.
And ladies and gentlemen, we can blame the internet.
The internet!
Handbrake turn!
Well, the only reason they're doing that is because they saw it on a Reddit thread. That's the only reason why they're trying that out,
Well, I mean,
but it's like, what do you think happens when you pull? They're dredging sand up from the bottom of the oceans. They're taking it off the beaches. The sand is the only thing keeping the water from encroaching on the land. What do you think is going to happen? They're going to blame. They're going to be like, it's climate change. That's why the water's rising. No, it's because you took all the fucking sand, which created a natural barrier to this shit.
I mean, terraforming is. I don't think terraforming is a massive problem. I mean, really, when you reshape the landscape, the ecosystems that are formed around that terraforming are finite, but the problem is they're in the midst of a desert that's hot as fuck all the time. So there's not a lot of microclimates in Dubai. You know what I mean? So moving sand around, I don't think doesn't sound to me like it's a major problem. Apart from losing land to the ocean.
Yeah, the sand they have access to is useless in making concrete.
Right. I mean, and the thing is too. I mean, there's when you talk about climate and you talk about fucking terraforming, you talk about the Earth in general. All it has to do is wobble a little bit, and shit changes. Like temperatures change. You know what I mean? Like we move a millimeter closer to the sun or further from the sun. We have a hot winter or a cool summer. You know what I mean? These are cosmic level things. I don't think scratching around on the surface is gonna fuck things up too bad.
I like to think of it as like, imagine a petri dish with like all the chemicals in, and it's just bubbling away and doing all its reactions and stuff. And then you're like a tiny dot inside being like, yeah, I know what's gonna happen next. That's like what predicting the weather is, I think. Like,
right.
Just insane to think that you can calculate all those variables at the same time.
So why do you think, we have this technology. I feel like with the shutdown, because of everything that's going on with the, my Sharona shit, people have been confined in their homes more than ever before, but they also have access to all, the internet, all this entertainment. They can still interact with people in a, via the screen. And I feel like it seems like they're trying to compress us in smaller and smaller spaces, like make it more condensed, like condense that population into smaller and small, have us living in smaller and smaller dwellings, all packed in together. And it's like, I feel like part of what's going on is just to see like how do people react being shut in their homes now that they have access to the internet. Is that gonna, because if we didn't have internet, I would have been going crazy by now. I would have lost my shit.
I have a theory based on 3 different books that I've read. And it has to do with the difference between agrarian culture and like East Coast condensed live or coastal condensed living. People who live on the coasts who don't have to plan for the future, don't have to store seed grain, don't have to manage their resources as finitely. They tend to be a little bit more left wing, a little bit more not liberal particularly, but just they don't think as long term, rather than a lot of farming cultures. People who live in the Midwest, people who live in the middle of the country that have to manage their resources to a finite degree, or they fucking starve, or their farm gets taken by a bank. They have a bad season, they're in trouble. So, long-term thinking, people who don't spend their resources for, frivolously, tend to live in the interior of places where there's a lot of farming. And that is a sociology experiment. So if we have people who are trying to force us closer together and get us out of that mindset, make us stop thinking about saving our money and get us more to become more consumers, spend our money, don't save it. You know what I mean? Live closer together. Don't depend on others. Depend on a closer knit society. Don't be as self-sufficient. These are all things that are the natural progression of authoritarianism, and I think that's happening right in front of us. My warning lights are going off with this whole thing.
Yeah.
So,
and do you think the internet is playing a role in that?
The internet is both in equal parts. It is both liberating, informative, and bad at the same time, because we have people controlling the flow of information who have a certain agenda, and there are voices on the internet who are willing to share their opinion with you on both sides of the political spectrum. So the problem is whenever you have one ideology that's pinching the hose in one direction, you don't have the ability to utilize all the information that's out there. And that should be put a stop to. We should stop that shit. Google has way too much power.
Yeah.
And someone had mentioned earlier about tribalism. I think it was Mitchell. We need to go back to tribalism and folkism. Just in the late 1800s is when you started to hear the phraseology of folkism itself kind of disappear into
folkism, did you say?
About again.
What did you say? I didn't catch it.
You are pretty muffled, Kami Mark. I'm not sure if there's anything you can do to.
I was going to say it sounds like the North Korean Secret Service have got him. The box.
I mean, maybe it's fitting. Yeah.
They've tapped your line. You're losing power.
They're going to tunnel to South Korea.
We can struggle to hear you, and it's probably worth it, but
But what were you saying, Jamie? Bulkism?
Folkism.
Folkism. Okay, I'm sorry. I misheard that.
Yeah, and there's a lot of books, especially if you are able to get your hands on some books written from the 1800s. Folkism is extremely important, and it's essentially been eradicated from discourse in present time, and we need to go back to smaller and there's places like Sweden. They're on YouTube specifically. They have a bunch of website or channels where there's groups of farmers or micro farmers who have all coalesced into this equal understanding that what Scotsman was just saying is extremely important, and in relation to people getting together and becoming farmers like they do in the middle of the country. And do you guys know about Elon Musk's brother?
I don't
So
think so.
Elon Musk's brother actually started a company that does vertical farming, but they're inside of tractor trailers. And so it's quite interesting, and they use gay lighting because the gay lighting is what makes the plants grow inside of containers. But they also have delved into grocery stores, and so you got Elon Musk's brother is doing a tremendous job at getting people to do urban farming inside of tractor trailer containers, and then they themselves are the mediator to get that product inside of grocery stores. So you do have certain powerful people who are aware of what Scotsman was just saying, and they're actually trying to do something about it inside of city. Because I grew up in Virginia Beach. Both my kids were born in Virginia Beach, and they keep building houses, but they won't expand the roads. They barely build any new schools, and they don't do anything for production value in terms of food. And if you have foreigners buying all of our meat processing companies, and they control our commodity trade routes on top of our food trade routes, and when they pull the plug, the Americans are going to struggle. And we saw a tiny bit of how powerful they can be with this movement. And but we do need folkism, tribalism, people getting together and creating communities that own farm plots, and they have their own little sections that they take care of, but it's all part of one land.
Voluntary exchange between grown consenting people is more important than governments running shit.
Okay. I think
That's a really powerful statement, man. I like that a lot.
I think we can handbrake this right back into the internet. So what
Please do.
what Scotsman and Jay are talking about, I'm actually 110% behind them. I think globalism as a whole is a bit of a dangerous concept because it puts what it does is it sucks money out of particular economies, really where they should be keeping that money within their own economy to keep it alive. Really, I think when you look at small communities, I think small communities themselves should be able to be self-sustainable. One of the reasons why I grow a hell of a lot of food in my garden is because I aspire one day to be completely self-sustainable. So this is me gathering knowledge by growing food now. And when you look at the internet, when we were talking earlier on, when we rebelled, we were rebelling in the 90s in small communities. We had access to television and that sort of an extra information. We had a little bit of access to things that were coming with the internet, but we were rebelling against small communities, rebelling against a larger community, if that makes sense. So we were rebelling against the news that we were being fed and all that sort of shit. When you look at the internet has created the same kind of vacuum or the same kind of scenario that globalism has done. So you have all these kids these days who their brain is plugged into everywhere.
Yeah.
So that you talking about, Mitch was talking about attainment, attainment. That is an issue at the moment. Attainment with young people is terrible, but that is because they have shorter attention spans. See, I linked it back in, fucked it up, but I still pulled it back. And so I think. Go on then.
I was just gonna say I'm gonna be back. Give me 1 minute.
You sound a lot better, anyway.
Yeah, I'm gonna sound even better.
I shared a link in the private chat of this was a release of the government. Basically, this is a change. This is an example of the change in thinking from then to now.
Okay.
This image, I think, puts an underscore on on how our culture has changed.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see it?
Yeah, hold on in 1 second.
Okay. There was a point in time when it was expected that you would do what things are necessary to become self-sufficient, to grow your own food, to collect your own resources, to partake in the market, develop your skills, use those gifts to try to become not a burden on society, but an asset to society. And as more and more, there's a bigger erosion of that thought process over time. This image just underscores how that's changed. So basically, this was put out by the government, basically saying Uncle Sam expects you to keep hens and raise chickens to lessen the burden on the entire system. Mm-hmm. It's the responsibility of every American citizen to do this. And obviously, it's not mandated by law, but this was a piece of literature that was distributed.
Yeah.
So that. So
they
could you imagine that today?
Yeah. Well, when it's beneficial to whatever agenda there may be or something that's trying to be achieved, then they will push these ideas out there. But then when it's like now, if you try to have a chicken coop, they make it nearly impossible.
Oh yeah, I have chickens.
Right. Sometimes there's so many restrictions and permits and things that you have to try and do, and they simply won't allow. Like in where I live, it's within a certain boundary. You can't have a chicken coop. They won't let you do it.
Mm-hmm. Right, you'll be fine.
So it just what's that?
Are you in Canada?
No.
Oh.
I don't think I could have a chicken.
I'm in California.
Same here.
Oh, okay.
So I don't think that they'll let us have that. I'm not even in a city, in a suburb. They won't even let me.
We went to the trouble of building a really badass chicken coop once, and they made us rip that shit out and we couldn't
can
do
you
it.
imagine? I mean, if every family, you can imagine this, every family had 3 chickens, that's 3 eggs a day.
Insane.
Per family.
Yeah.
The problem is chickens stink. They attract bacteria, and they shit everywhere. So it's it's a thing that I don't know. It has equal benefits to maybe some negative consequences. But think about that. If more people raised chickens, how different food needs would be.
Just one simple thing like that, yeah.
Chicken shit is not a dangerous consequence of keeping chickens. Chicken shit is one of the absolute best fertilizers you can use for growing veg.
Yeah. This is how and once you have some chickens, and then you're growing food, and then you create your own little ecosystem.
Ecosystem, right?
This is the ideal, and we're being pushed so far away from that. Like, they don't want us to even be within 10 miles of being self-sufficient anymore. You
can bring that back to the internet yet again, because we keep handbraking back and then handbraking back the other way.
I know.
But you can bring that back to the internet again, particularly if you look in America. So the food industry in America, the health industry in America, the education system is all owned by private business. Which private businesses? They're the same private businesses that own all 3. They're the same private businesses that have lobbyists all the way through the American government structure. You look particularly pharmaceuticals in the States. Why? You look at things like mental illness. Why are we diagnosing so many kids with mental illness now, particularly in America, feeding them drugs that alter the fucking chemical makeup of their brain before their brain is even developed?
You're right.
It's all about fucking money and cost. You follow the money, it always leads you to where you need to go. If I wanted a chicken coop right here, I could just go and fucking build one. I could go and rustle a chicken from the chicken farm down the road if I so fucking felt.
If you do that, make sure to record it. I want to see that video.
To be honest, I'm probably more likely to get shot in Scotland trying to steal a chicken than I will get throwing his book over the Korean border. We value our chickens and our cows and our farms up here. So we're
Highland food.
But again, even you talk about that. So my local butcher owns the meat farms around here. All of his products come from him. and service the local community. So again,
that's the only way I eat meat is I won't buy meat from the grocery stores, man.
Oh, we're about to get
that shit's
deal.
Nasty.
We're about to get a deal. Once Brexit goes through, there'll be a food deal with the US. Boris keeps denying it, but everybody knows it's going to happen. And in our supermarkets, we are going to get the beautiful delicacy of North American chlorinated chicken.
Oh, I can't wait for that bleachy chicken.
I bet you got your calendar marked. You're ready. You're gonna go in the date. That's like a release date. That's like a box.
Do you know what this deal? This is when I'm talking about the money. So the deal, this deal, when it goes through, which it will go through at some point, will allow American chicken producers to bypass British food standards. We have to have certain labels on our meat. We have to tell you about the protein content, the fat content, the calorie content. All our food has the traffic light system.
How many farmers had sex with that animal? Like it's all there on the packaging.
What about all the shit they pump into these animals, man?
Oh, there's
that's what I'm
videos.
saying. All the farmers that had sex with them as well. They're already
there's
okay.
Dozens of videos on the internet of like Chinese meat processing where they're injecting chickens, like butchered chickens, with saline and salt water and shit to thicken up their breasts to make them weigh more, so they get paid more.
Yeah, and then when you cook,
well, that's what margarine is. You guys
people don't. If I understand, people want to eat meat, but like, come on, if you're gonna eat meat, make sure you know where it's coming from. Like, spend a little extra cash and get quality meat. Just don't buy it from these shit outlets, man.
It should be a treat too,
or,
in my opinion. Meat
or
should
go
be...
to a small business grocery store. It's like we have big grocery stores and we have small grocery stores, and we got a place called Rainbow Grocery, and they only buy from local farms.
So they're usually like co-ops,
Yeah, well, that's what it is. It's a co-op that they use. So the cows that they get are from Alabama, and they even butcher the cow right there inside of the grocery store.
Yep.
And it's glorious, man. And then I was just talking about margarine. No one please ever buy margarine or eat margarine. Margarine was a fake butter that they created to inject into turkeys to make them larger for Thanksgiving. And it ended up giving them heart attacks, making them deformed, and it's actually has 13 or 17 components inside of margarine are inside of fucking paint. So margarine is essentially paint. So please buy butter, real butter. Do never ever buy margarine.
Play-Doh biscuits are really tasty.
So Mark, come on. I know you have a lot to dispense on this topic. Now you have your audio fix. You're looking beautiful, by the way. Not as beautiful as Charlie's, but pretty good.
It's because it's actually daylight here still. Look, that's how early it is. What do I think about the effects of the internet on society? I love it. I think it's the greatest invention that we ever had since the steam engine. Maybe second. I think the steam engine's still winning. Hail J Money, sweet hat, bro.
I'd say the printing press, Johannes Gutenberg, probably bigger than the steam engine.
No, because
go ahead.
So my angle on the steam engine is that every electrical technology that we have doesn't exist without the steam engine in it. If you go all the way back to the power plant, it doesn't matter what they're chucking in to generate energy. It's still the steam engine that's making it.
Let me ask you this. What's more important, changing the ability for common people to become educated and therefore breaking the orthodoxy of the elite, or steam engines?
Yeah, see, now, as soon as you started to say Gutenberg, I thought you'd lost. That is a good one. But the internet is our generation's Gutenberg printing press in it. I always talk about how in the distant future, this period of nothingness in history that we're living through is the internet revolution. Like, that's what they'll call it, and we're doing like an industrial revolution right now. Information it's blowing up. It's excellent.
It's really bizarre to be. That's interesting that you frame it that way. It's so strange to be living in a lifetime where I've experienced one reality through this part of my life and an entirely different reality on this part of my life. I mean, how many generations, how many people get to say that they lived through something like that? And you're right, it's going to be through the historical lens, it's going to be framed that way as something quite unique and special.
And for that concession, Kami Mark, I dox my kilt.
Oh no!
I didn't see it.
That wasn't adequate, man. We do not accept that dox.
Okay. Let's see if I can get a better angle here.
What color is your tartan colors?
Blue and green.
Not bad.
Black
not
and white.
bad.
There you go.
So is this when you really feel a need to feel especially sexy? You don the kilt. Is that what happens?
If you've never worn a kilt, you just don't know.
Because you
One
go out
plenty
and
of
somebody's color.
skirts. Does that
Just
count?
gonna go out there and put that color down. On the xenotype.
Hey, Scotsman, what's your tartan colors?
Douglas. Blue, green, white, and black.
Is that Captain? Oh, that was Scotsman. Oh, my fault. Captain Fuckhead, what is your colors? I'm sorry. Is he not there?
He's
Oh, he's not.
muted.
Doesn't seem to
Muted.
be. He's
Doesn't
sleeping on
answer
the
your
job.
question.
I'm still here. I went for a pee and forgot. I'm a cross between a Ross and Gordon. So Ross,
You guys are literally
All around-
speaking words that I don't understand. What the
Those
fuck
are
you talking
family
about?
names, Rod. Ross and Gordon.
Okay.
Yeah.
They're
And their
boyfriends.
colors? They represent colors?
Your clan tartan is not every tartan is different, but pretty much. The color and thread patterns are different.
Yeah, mine's
See him at a
yellow and black. The McLeod-McLaughlin colors.
Okay.
Yellow
Gotcha.
and
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Mine are predominantly green and blue with a little bit of white.
You got to be from the Isles, man. You got to know. Oh, wait, Kami, what are your colors?
It's just red and
Kami's-
yellow in it. Red and
Red and
yellow.
He's like spacing out. He's like, Kami's just like thinking, like, man, this isn't nearly as creative as the next thing I'll be doing.
I mean,
Listen, the Douglas clan.
Dude,
is-
no, I gotta
the
tell you
Douglas
guys.
clan
Look,
is from the south. We were always front. That is our motto. We got fucking attacked repeatedly. So and to this day, the Douglas clan gets shit on by the Highlanders, saying, "You bloody lowlanders."
you bloody lowlanders.
You must.
Dude,
Kami
Mark-
It's not Indian, Rot. It's not India, mate. It's
Kami, I know, I fucked that up. Jesus. Kami Mark, like, he invited me to come on a show, and his way of inviting me was like, I think it's simple enough for you to come on. I was like, yeah, okay. Thanks for the invite, you fucking prick.
Not any complex topics in it.
that's his mark to a T. To be fair.
yeah.
It was pretty awesome. So here's a question: like, do you think, the age of the internet, social media, smartphones, do you think it's actually hyper energized, like groupthink? Because there is a lot of power when it comes to the internet, when it like swarming, like people being in a group.
Got
and
a
having,
perspective on that.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I want to hear it, dude.
Okay.
Okay.
All of these fuckers who are trying to corral us into these echo chambers they're doing it by not allowing people to express themselves. The more open people can speak about how they feel, how they think, without having to retreat to these private DM groups, these private message boards, these you know what I'm saying? These private discords, when people can speak about how they think out in the wild, out in the open, without being censored, without being canceled, without being deleted, it allows people to exchange ideas more freely. By Google and YouTube and Facebook intervening in those conversations because they don't want people to be offended or whatever their reasoning behind it. I think that's bullshit personally.
Sure.
Whatever their reasoning is, if the more they try to shape it, the more they create echo chambers. Because you want people clashing swords out in the wild. that way they can reach mutual understanding, or continue to exchange those ideas.
Yeah.
You squeeze it off, you create more echo chambers.
Yeah. Do you think Joe Rogan is leaving YouTube because too much censorship?
Yeah, they're censoring him, man.
Or do you think that somebody just
No.
threw
I have
him
a good-
enough money that he's like,
Yeah.
I'll be censored, just give me that 100 mil.
He's issued a statement on that. Tim Pool tried to do that same kind of thing, like, oh, he's leaving for the censorship. You bring up Alex Jones' article, which Alex Jones took down from it, and Joe Rogan talked to Tim Pool, and he actually says, yeah, they just offered me a really good deal. So
Yeah,
I'm gonna take it.
that makes more sense because
He
Joe
asked for
Rogan
certain-
has some.
Yeah.
He has some hot takes and some maybe things where he mildly challenges the mainstream narrative. But honestly, I pretty much think he toes the line.
It's disappointing.
Are they going to
Yeah.
syndicate him? Is that what they're doing? He's going to be syndicated?
He's going on Spotify.
Yeah, he's going to be on Spotify, and the full podcast, not right this second, but later this year, is going to be the full podcast only on Spotify. There'll still be snippets of it on YouTube and stuff like that, but it's not going to be on YouTube.
I
Doesn't
agree
it-
with that.
he's
I
doing
agree
that.
with that, Gargoyle. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
That's pretty much what he was saying. A lot of people are saying, like, oh, he's taking a fight against YouTube. He's like, I'm not fighting YouTube. I don't care enough.
Yeah, YouTube just can't offer him that kind of money, you know.
They keep on censoring him too, so it's like Spotify. He was able to put in different things into the Spotify contract where he's getting more money, and he's also saying, "Hey, I want to be able to do this, this, and this." And like, as long as you come over here and put it on our stuff, sure, man, whatever.
Yeah,
So,
I don't know. It's
anyone
a little
else-
disappointing to see that.
Anyone else have thoughts on how all of these things, internet, social media, smartphones, are impacting groupthink, swarm behavior, cancel culture? I mean, is
There will
cancel
be
culture
thoughts on
even
Sunday.
cancel culture really? If you go pre-internet, cancel culture really had to happen in actual like publications and news media outlets. Like it had to be at the top levels, and now you've got a situation where cancel culture is happening down in the at much lower tiers, and it feels really like
In the
There's
old
a-
days, if you was at college and someone's doing a speech there that you don't like, if you wanted to get them cancelled, you'd have to design a flyer, like print it off, like hand it out to everyone, stand outside with billboards and fucking megaphone and shit. Now, like, you just start a Facebook group. You go and take a photo of you with a billboard and with a megaphone and shit. Like, and that's it. That's all you need to do. Like, it's just because it's easier.
yeah.
What
You
we
can
have
simpli-
done is
I was
we've bought.
just going to say, Mark, you can simplify that even more. All you got to do is stand up in the lecture hall and start screaming.
Yeah, even more basic.
There's a fine line between gatekeeping and canceling. I think that before you had large corporations deciding, nah, we're not going to platform you, and then now you have small, very violent, very vocal groups of people saying, we're going to cancel you, and so they're attacking the sponsors and the way to monetize these things from the bottom end, from the bottom up. So, it's the same thing. It's just who's doing it. You know what I mean? So you had gatekeeping before, now you have canceling nowadays.
Yeah.
So
I feel like the comment, I guess if you want to use maybe a war campaign term, the peasants now seem to have access to a kind of cancel culture power. If they band together and make enough noise, even people that really shouldn't have any sway or influence with anyone are able to cause a problem for people,
That's infamous.
Yeah,
So,
exactly.
Captain Fuckhead, and he made that joke about the last 3 days, and it's still going on today. You had Rinfamous took a screenshot from some Nazi website about some members in there that like confiscate, and it's like, well, one, why are you on that website, and how do you know about that website?
Right.
And then two, when she posts that image, so we reply, and then all of her little minions come and attack us, and then they'll literally spin everything we
Sure.
and say Or you got
Robot.
any weirdo. Oh, okay.
You're roboting. Ren's
I'll
attacking me.
stop
Yeah,
that.
that's Ren. I was about to say.
Every time
So-
J Money really, anytime J Money starts to get into a flow with saying something, it seems like this happens to him. And
It's because
What's-
his bandwidth can't keep up with his brain speed.
That's right. So what's the lesson? What's the lesson we learn in all that? Don't respond to Renfamous.
yeah, I think you're right,
Yes,
because no
yeah.
matter what you do, they will find a way to take anything you've said out of context, frame it differently, and use it against you. It's no point in doing it.
Yeah.
For me, Twitter is like, it's a promotional tool, and it's a way to communicate with the people that I'm like dealing with and cool with, and we can support each other and engage each other in cool ways, fun ways, have a good time. But getting into like back and forth battles with people I just don't. One, I don't have time for it, and secondly, it doesn't do any good because their whole thing is taking shit out of context. Just don't give them that. Don't give them that fucking fuel.
As soon as I blocked all those fucking people, as soon as I blocked them all, my Twitter feed cleaned itself right up.
I bet.
I've said it before, I think, on this show as well. You've got the drama triangle. You have a hero, you have a heel, you have the audience. You remove one of those things, and there's nothing there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Like, disengaging with anybody that you might there might be drama with is always just a wise course of action on the internet.
Don't forget that Twitter uses algorithmic technology on it. Like, put your likes on things that you like, and Twitter will feed you more things like that because it wants you to stay. It wants you to click the like button again on it. If there's too much drama in your feed, click like on lots of nice art and watch the machine shuffle the cards in the background.
That's true.
That's interesting because that's all I really ever do is, I retweet stuff that's promoting really solid CG projects and cool shit going on in Comicsgate, and I really only give likes and stuff to. I don't engage the stuff that isn't like that, and so my feed is. I feel like it is pretty clean.
Facebook does a whole other thing, and I've tested this, and it is 100% happening. As you go through your feed, your Facebook tends to take a top chat or a top post and pop it out of the main article or main post, and almost exclusively 100% of the time, it's the one that's popped out is a selected comment that I'm going to disagree with. Algorithmically, 100% happens. As I'm thumbing through my feed, I look and I see an article about whatever thing that I'm for, and then a negative comment is the only one that's popped out. Relevant comment popped out, and I'm like, that's fucking bait. I just thumb right past it. I've learned to stop it.
Nice.
I think I might have said this to all of you before, but the big difference between Twitter and Facebook is that on Twitter you see people saying things that you don't agree with and you can argue with them. But on Facebook, you see people saying things you don't agree with, and it's your uncle, and you can't argue with him. That's the big difference between the two.
Or like some friend of a friend sees their reply to you, and then they get involved, and it's like, you don't want to shit on this person because they're your cousin's, former, dorm mate. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Right. Yeah. It's more. There's a much closer connection to your people you actually intimately know or family. Yeah.
I saw
For sure.
Twitter's actually adding a new functionality soon where the reply people can only reply to your post if you follow them. If you enable that on your posting.
That feels like Twitter death. That feels like an end to what Twitter
doesn't
is.
it?
Yeah.
Did you?
So I don't do. I haven't used Facebook. I grew to hate Facebook, but didn't they just recently unleash a kind of streamlined or
They're
better
always changing it.
format? I mean, but it seemed like I have to engage it for work sometimes to find photos for businesses, for graphic design and stuff, and it seemed like it really, really changed.
Well, it's funny is these social media platforms, they've got they've got their own spaces, right? And it's kind of like a pebble in a pond situation, right? That the idea is the pebble dropping into the pond, and it first hits Facebook, then it goes to Twitter, then it lands on Instagram, right? So so it started out people posting pictures of the food that they're eating on Facebook incessantly, and then it goes to Twitter, and now it's on Instagram. You know what I mean? And then now you got people arguing with each other on Facebook. Now it's arguing with each other on Twitter. Now it's people are starting to argue and fucking on Instagram as well. These ideas are reverberate through these different platforms. They all seem to start on Facebook though. You know, maybe it's because people are so tightly knitted together on Facebook.
Well, what are your thoughts on is Facebook worth engaging, like as from a Comicsgate perspective? Is it a useful promotional tool? Is it a good way to connect with fans?
Go where the people are.
Is it a good place to do that? Is it
every place, and you know, in branding and marketing, anything that where you're trying to get an idea or interest in a project or product, go where the people are. If you have the ability to post somewhere where eyeballs will see it, it has an effect.
Well, by that logic, Preston Poulter was dead on, man. He got on Pornhub. He got a lot of eyeballs.
Yeah, but you didn't advertise his book on it at all.
1 million views.
Yeah, I know some balls that got some different treatment. You know, some high heel treatment.
But then you also have to go and you have to look at your product placement too, because you also need to get your product out there. It's not just getting you out there.
Yeah. Is there a difference anymore?
Okay, so
an artist,
I think
their product is their person. Sorry.
There's a big disadvantage that you have on Facebook where you're forced to use your real names and and your true identity, your Clark Kent or whatever. And here,
do you have to?
No, you don't.
No,
but you can create a fan
site. Yeah, you can create a product site, fan site, something like that. But your point is taken. Yeah,
you can do that. But you. So in the old days, you used to be able to have a page, like a fan page or a celebrity page or something, and you could use that as like a secondary profile that you could post like in groups with and stuff, which you can't do anymore. Like you have to share it through your actual account into other groups. It's there's lot. It's a doxing nightmare. If you're a person who's scared of that, stay away.
Facebook is a nightmare, man. I've always found it very difficult to navigate.
Well, there's another reason why I never use any pictures from my Facebook in any other platform, because reverse image searching, that kind of shit. My Facebook is completely locked down. Only family members can access me, see me, whatever. I'm not particularly worried about my information, but there are weird people out there, and I'm on camera all the time. I'm sitting at another desk right now, which the background is kind of shit, so I don't have my camera on. But you know me, I'm not shy about that. I stream with my face on all the time.
Yeah, dude. Sometimes I just log in and watch you color Xenotype for 2 hours, and I just marvel.
So you're the one.
Yeah, I just linger there and just watch. I watch your little fingers move, your little stubby fingers.
You like wait a minute, stubby motherfucker.
And then every once in a while, you'll just shout out a name in the chat, Captain Love, and then it'll be another 30 minutes.
So you're telling me you don't like the tablet? You don't like the tablet cam? Is what you're saying?
No, I don't know, man. I feel like War Campaign is makes certain to be there for you. Delta Spurg's always there, Testify's always there.
I mean, love them or hate them, those are my boys, man.
I mean, I guess something about the internet that does fascinate me is people, no matter what you're doing, no matter would you ever watch somebody color a comic book? Because dude, it's tedious work when you really break it down to the bare bones of it. Unless you want to be a colorist on a comic book, why the fuck would you watch it? But
there's nothing interesting about lassoing, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I'm just watching you lasso the whole time, and I'm like, what? There are 15 people here. What are they doing?
it's helpful.
You're
for
not
that
saying
part.
anything. You're lassoing shit, and it's like, what is happening here?
Well,
Or are they just generously giving you like watch time while they go look at fucking
that is part of
pornography?
it. But
Yeah,
see,
maybe.
I'll tell you, my streaming methodology is way different on Twitch than it is on YouTube. But I react to the chat. I keep the chat right above my eye level where I'm looking at my screen. If it moves an inch, I see it. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
try my best to keep an eye on what's happening in chat if I get addressed directly. If someone new comes into the chat, I always try to address them. I always try to welcome them, give them a shout out, my
Captain
Spartan
Love!
Aru, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, it's
Yeah.
it's important
Well,
to me.
now it's my mission to now I'm gonna try my best to distract you while you're working.
Oh, good luck.
Scotsman's right. He does. I can see. I try and catch Scotsman every time I can, but he streams at times when I'm normally asleep. So I don't tend to get it that much. I wish I could get it more, but he does interact a lot. He's decent, even when he's concentrating. Some of the faces he pulls are great.
Well, to be fair, I'm usually sitting in the War Campaign Discord listening to Triple R use gay German epithets at me. Like
what he's
German
concentrating. He's concentrating to make sure that fart he's gonna let go doesn't actually make enough noise to hit the microphone.
I have a keystroke that mutes my mic for that.
Oh God!
It's called keybinds, brother. Get with it, you boomer.
Mark's
Nah, dude, that's no fun. You got to let people in. You got to let people hear those juicy, wet, fucking farts, man.
Mark's causing me concern. He looks like he's thinking.
Yeah, I'm writing the episode of Russian Troll Factory on it at the same time as being on here because I was just listening while doing it, and then I thought, I can just listen and then talk back if anyone talks to me while I'm doing it.
I would have liked to come on the show today, but I have all this design work to do, and then I got to get on Atomic. I have so much prep work to do for Atomic Deuce.
You've got me penciled in, right, Mark?
You prepare that. Yeah, 10 p.m.
Scotsman is Scotsman on today?
Oh yeah.
Oh fuck yeah, dude.
Coming on, yeah.
Well, I'll probably be able to listen. I just got to work while I do it.
Yeah, that's.
Well, I'll be working while I do it too.
You're always working, man.
Yes, we're gonna do this thing. The Comicsgate Asphyxie Wank Man Wheel of Misfortune game.
And this was the one that was simple enough for me to participate.
Yeah. When you see what I've like crowbarred into Comicsgate, you'll go, oh yeah, okay. Elegant, smooth.
Nice.
All right, guys. I've got to get back to it. We had a really random, disjointed, probably confusing conversation about something. I don't even know what it is anymore.
A conversation that would have never happened without the internet. So hail the internet. The
That's
internet
dude, boom. Segue, boom, pulled it back in. Commie Mark saves the day. Captain Fuckhead, you got anything you want to throw out at us?
Okay, there'll be a new video up on my channel in approximately about an hour. I'm just reconverting it as I made some spelling mistakes earlier like a fucking moron. I'm cursed with being dip lipsticked. My interview yesterday with Mr. Rob Willis is down at the moment. It will be back up later on tonight. I had to just check a couple of things out on it. It was a very good interview. Rob's a very interesting man, and he brought some very interesting points up about Comicsgate, how he deals with it, and how he found it. And on Monday night, the Fans Hour, the very first episode, 001, is coming to air, so as last week's was our pilot. On Monday, we have Mr. Commie Mark is coming as an attendee. We also have Simon Sympathier, who is in the chat. And we have Mr. Ibe Canalis coming on to show some books.
Beautiful, man. That is awesome. Sweet. And for anybody that isn't subscribed to Captain Fuckhead's YouTube channel, it is linked in the description below.
Thank you, sir.
Mitchell.
Also, I just want to say what balls he has to call it episode 001. That's big balls, that is. Go on, Mitchell. give us
I
your
stole
spiel.
that from
That's
Rob.
how I do it. That's how I do everything.
Stole
I'm
it
like,
from
I
Rob.
assume this is gonna hit 999 eventually.
That's right.
That's how you do
It's
it. You
gonna
give people
restart.
confidence about your consistency. That's how you have to do it. Mitchell, you got any final thoughts on this completely botched conversation we've had?
I think that you should use the internet to go and back more Lethal. It's almost 100% funded. It's only got 16 days left.
Nice.
Yeah, it looks great, and I mean $5 is not
Taco
too
plate,
bad for a
people.
comic. Yeah,
A couple of tacos. You could buy a couple of tacos, or you could own a comic book.
Or a
Come on,
Starbucks.
make the right choice. More Lethal, $5. Damn. Call me Mark. I know you don't have anything to promote. You're a lazy motherfucker.
Hang on. Have you seen this? I don't know if you've seen it yet.
Oh God, I thought that was going a different direction.
I know when someone
No,
stands up. Have you seen this? They stand up.
My boxes in it that I'm making at the moment.
Are you shipping? What's going on here? Oh,
So
Oh, wow.
If you give me a full screen, I'll show you. better.
yeah. Let's see it.
Here's your blockhead. What Captain Fuckhead made. These weren't even mentioned on the campaign because I forgot.
Oh
Like,
my God, it's beautiful.
There's one that's been here for like fucking 2 months, and I kept.
What are
forgetting
you
to mention
doing,
it.
man?
Here's your Sailor Kim variant, the S-Class cover. You see it's got
Yes.
the not chromium one behind it.
Is this like a deluxe
200.
premium box?
This is the first ever one out of the box in it. The fancy, the
Sailor Moon.
S-Class
S-
Sailor Kim cover.
Yes.
It's the first one out of the box. Like, so this is going to Peter Gilmore because he was the first person to back that one in it. So I
That's
made
really
it
cool.
nice.
Nice, man. I made it nice. The rest of them, yeah.
Yeah, some of them might have feet print on the outside. You know.
Yeah, it's a roll of the dice. It might not. You might not even get all the pages. I mean, it depends.
Just keep your eyes out for my my video in about an hour's time, and you'll see exactly how it's going to get fucking posted.
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to promote? An upcoming show?
Watch Russian Troll Factory in like an hour or 2 hours or however long it is, hour and a half.
I think it's an hour and a half. Yeah, Russian Troll Factory. Mark, he's always bringing something unique. He pushes the envelope on creativity and CG. Don't miss it, folks. Just go sub to his channel. It's a lot of fun. J Money.
I don't know how Commie Mark wears this for over an hour.
We've headphones as well, in it.
Honestly, this was a great conversation, to be frank. And shop at farmers markets, guys. Farmers
Oh
markets.
God, I can't push that enough. I meant to bring that up earlier, but yeah, dude, hit your farmers markets. If you have one, take advantage of that shit. That's where you're gonna get your best fucking food every time.
If you don't know where to find one, just look for jmoneyfarmersmarket.com.
Scotsman, give it to us, man.
Well, our topic about the internet today. I'm making a comic book with two guys I've never met in person. One guy lives in Greece, the other guy lives in Australia. Only possible via the internet. So,
Beautiful.
hail the internet at some point.
Fucking
hell
Lord
yeah.
again.
Yes.
Wait, whoa.
What do you do? What was this?
I'm just
And there's another guy who actually flats coloring pages who lives in
Dude, you
Scotland.
as a flatter, you have to know you are basically the poop on the bottom of a shoe.
I know.
That is how that works.
I know.
Well, see, I am. the
I've been a
anus
flatter.
that
I've done the
dispenses poop.
flats. Nobody cares.
I'm the anus that dispenses the poop. So,
This is
So the
fair
least you could do is mention the toilet paper.
that's right. So yeah. So okay. So four of us.
Yes.
I was going to say letters, but who knows at this point.
Atomic Deuce tonight, ladies and gentlemen. I'm already saying things I shouldn't say. So imagine what it's gonna be in 8 hours from now.
Back Xenotype if you get a chance. If you haven't seen it, you like manga, get a chance to back Xenotype, please do. Follow me on Twitter, Spartan Scotsman, and subscribe to my YouTube channel, Scotsman TV. If you want to learn how to color, you want to see coloring getting done, you just want to watch the fudge be packed, tune in.
Or maybe you can distract him from his work. It's a challenge.
It's possible.
Go get there and make it happen.
It's possible.
Captain Fuckhead, I really want you to deliver. I really want you to deliver your signature line to get us out of here.
Fuck off!
Yes!